This is a remarkable report you have provided us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. It's been nearly 15 months since our city experienced civil unrest. Collectively, we've learned a great deal, and we've completed a considerable amount of work in a short period of time. While jotting down my notes for this presentation tonight, I reflected on just how much we have accomplished as a city. Since May of last year, City Council adopted a racial equity plan and has taken great strides in moving that objective forward. City Council also leaned forward and hired the Police Executive Research Forum, or PERF, to review the police department's response to unrest from May 31st through June 2nd of last year, as well as a comprehensive review of the police department's directives concerning use of force and civil disturbance. And our police department reviewed our past performance, our philosophy, and our future response to events of unrest. Over the last 15 months, our police department has been working very hard. We completed an internal after-action review and identified several areas for positive change. The department immediately began working on those areas. Our self-initiated positive change included many things: reviewing and revising our response to resistance directive, which included expanded de-escalation expectations and adding a duty to intervene mandate, reviewing and revising our tactical field force guide, advanced planning and preparations for incidents of unrest, communication and engagement with the community, demonstrators and organizers during events of unrest, training and coordination with our mutual aid partners, and expansion of our Citizens Advisory Panel from 6 members to 9 members. Our community should take pride in knowing that we have a progressive and professional police department. We hire, train, and support police officers, communications officers, and civilian employees that do this difficult work because they care about our community. Our public safety employees are always willing to evaluate their past performance and adopt best practices. Our public safety employees strive to always do their best. They are committed to doing the right thing and work hard to set a positive example in our community. I want to take a quick moment here to expand upon de-escalation and duty to intervene. I share with you that during a call for service, our police officers aren't typically interacting with people having the best day of their lives. In fact, our officers are most likely dealing with people in some form of crisis. The crisis might be that they were just involved in a motor vehicle crash, or they were the recipient of a speeding ticket. Maybe they were the victim of a larceny, or even the victim or offender of a domestic assault. Maybe they're suffering from mental health crisis and are unable to help themselves. Whatever the crisis, our police officers respond to these calls for service as problem solvers. They want to achieve the best possible outcome for the given situation. With that in mind, know that our officers are practicing de-escalation every day. They are highly skilled at bringing calm to chaotic scenes. Many years ago, before the PERF report and before the General Assembly mandates, the Fredericksburg Police Department endorsed and mandated training and de-escalation. We also mandated that de-escalation be utilized when safe to do so. In August of 2020, the police department added a duty to intervene clause into our response to resistance directive. We did this proactively, 10 months before being required to do so by our General Assembly. We added the duty to intervene by all employees, not because we were told to do so, but because we felt it was the right thing to do. By adoption of Resolution 2054 on July 14th of last year, City Council engaged PERF to conduct an independent review of the city's response to mass demonstrations. The police department cooperated fully during PERF's review. We provided them all of the materials they needed to conduct a thorough review. PERF completed their review and provided a final report to Council on February 9th of this year. And as commissioned, PERF provided 66 recommendations for improvement in police operations, training, equipment, and policy. During February, I took the 66 recommendations and divided them into 6 separate topics, with overlapping topics being placed in 3 categories. I also met with our region's chiefs and sheriffs and requested that members of their agencies assist us with reviewing the PERF recommendations on 3 separate committees. Members of my Citizens Advisory Panel and a University of Mary Washington professor also joined the discussions within the 3 committees. During April and May, the committees dedicated themselves to painstakingly discussing and studying their assigned PERF recommendations. Committees made their recommendations to me during June of this year. I was able to consider their recommendations and incorporate progressive change into our department's directives concerning response to resistance or use of force, response to mass gatherings, the incident command system, and our tactical field force. These directive additions and adjustments were vetted throughout the entire police department during July and ultimately incorporated on August the 4th. I'm happy to tell you that the police department is currently 100% complete with the review of the 66 PERF recommendations. I do retain 2 of the PERF recommendations which require further work and review on my part. The first is working with our mutual aid law enforcement partners to discuss a regional response to future demonstrations and response. That's recommendation number 21. This is an ongoing discussion between our agencies, but please know that we continue to regularly train with Stafford County Sheriff's Office Civil Disturbance Team, and we look forward to training with Spotsylvania and King George as they form teams themselves. The second recommendation I retain is the creation of a critical incident review board. I fully intend to implement this recommendation, but need a little more time to review sample policies and best practices. I anticipate adopting this recommendation before the end of October of this year. Through our experiences over the last 14 months, our internal after-action review, the PERF recommendations, the PERF committee's work, and implementing positive change in our policies, I know that the Fredericksburg Police Department is better prepared than ever to support our community's First Amendment rights while also ensuring the safety of our residents, our business owners, our employees, and our visitors. I say this not only as your chief of police, but also as a city resident, as a father of daughters in our public school system, and as a husband. No matter which hat I'm wearing, I'm proud of our city. I'm proud of our first responders. I'm proud of the progressive work we've all completed since first experiencing civil unrest, and I am excited for the future. At the police department, we pride ourselves on professional service to our community, and we strive daily to be the premier law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth. I know we are well on that path, and I'm predicting many success stories as we move forward into the future. Thank you all for your time. I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions? Dr. Duffy?
I don't have any questions except to say, the Chief, I just want to thank you for your work. I mean, it's just remarkable how you put yourself and your force into the work of this process, and it shows just great character and great sense of purpose that we can all be proud of. And so I'm grateful for your leadership. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Kelly and then Vice Mayor.
Chief Layton, thank you very much. I know you guys spent a lot of time on this. Again, recently had some discussions with the guys in the field and what was going on and everything else like that. And I think we're all on the same page. We went through a real hard few months, and we've learned a lot out of it. And as per our earlier discussion today, as we move forward with our goals and initiatives, I hope we can go to the public and say, this is what happened, and this is what has changed, and give the community the opportunity to see what has changed and give them an opportunity to see what you guys have done and comment and move forward. And I think you're going to find this community will be supportive with what you've done. And but I think it is important that we do go back to the community and say, we understand what happened. We've learned from what happened. This is what's coming down. This is what's changed and how we're going to move forward. I think that's going to be an important next step in this process for us. But thank you very much, and thanks to the guys out. I know they do yeoman's work and still working really hard, and every time I've been out with them, no matter what the situation, they have been perfect gentlemen or ladies to everybody that they've been with, and in some really tight situations, and I've never seen them act any way else. And so kudos to you and your staff, and look forward to moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Frye?
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw and Chief Layton. Good work on addressing issues in the middle of like calling an audible, like right after you got your position. So it's a lot going on your side. And I just wanted to note, it's a lot of things that happen with a lot of officers that that are not mentioned, and even though you have work to do, on your side, and you have a whole organization to run, it's a lot of the things that your officers do make it better, for the community. It's different things. Like there was an incident one day. A lady was on her way to dialysis, and she kind of was out of it, and she ran up on the curbside, and just so happened, like, people came and got me. I was like, calling somebody called 911, but so this lady was there on the sidewalk, and it was a mess, what was happening, and just to see, how the officers just took over the situation, with Karen, it was a lot of commotion because everybody was trying to figure out what to do, and it was just the way that they handled the situation. But also, just as a quick example, like the Breakfast Buddies program, that's been gone for a year. But those are the difference makers that I believe, that make things better. You had a whole basketball team at Peace in the Paint, the kids against the officers, and never seen that. So your department, something happens. Of course, you're under a lot of scrutiny, and a lot of those things, that's off the. People don't think about those things. So I just wanted to make a note of those things that, they kind of get lost in the mix sometimes, So that's all I have. So beyond the report and beyond the work that you're doing, I just wanted to make a note, of what your officers do that people don't see a lot. So thank you, sir.
Yeah. Ms. Devine?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief Layton, for such a, excuse me, for such a wonderful report, and you and your department embracing change as necessary. The only way to get better at anything is through that growth, through that self-examination, and your department is constantly striving to be better, and it really just shows. So even earlier tonight with the partnership with RACSB, all your partnerships, as Mr. Frye pointed out, that the community involvement, your department, you are public servants, and you do that job well. And like every public servant, there's opportunities for criticism and reflection, and I just want to say that your department has done a very professional job of taking criticisms and comments from the public and examining, doing some self-examination, really doing some work, and it just is very impressive that, you and your department are coming out of this with such a willingness to respond to that and grow. So anyway, just thank you for all that work, and please pass it on to all of the officers and the dispatchers and all the people who work in the department. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief Layton, just to echo what everyone here has said, but also just to ask, given all of the work that you and the rest of FPD have done over these past 14 months, can you just talk to us a little bit about the morale of the folks on the front lines, the rank and file, and how everyone's doing at the police department these days?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Morale is good. We certainly went through a rough patch, right? But it wasn't just us. It was the nation. Law enforcement across our entire nation went through a rough patch. And to have some good come out of that is the absolute best outcome. And we're seeing positive things coming out of what we experienced, right? And I think that will expand. But morale is good. We're still a few officers down, but we're working hard to hire some great people. We certainly aren't going to lower our standards. We have very high standards at the FPD. We hire great people. We'll hire some more, and hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be at full staff.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Excellent. Dr. Duffy?
One more comment. I'm lucky enough to work with Fredericksburg City Police almost every day. And if anybody wants to hear stories about their commitment to the general welfare and people throughout the city, they can call me anytime. I owe you some pictures from Peace in the Paint because I served as their unofficial coach. And it didn't work out great. It didn't work out great for them, but we had a blast. The kids had a blast, and it's just another example of what folks are doing under your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say, Dr. Duffy, you did not jump in the picture as a coach with the losing team. So
I was too slow.
I got to hold you to that.
Absolutely. Mr. Withers?
Thank you. Chief, you know what how I feel about your force, so I won't belabor it, but thank you for your work, and thank you for your whole force for their work. We've got a great community police department here, and people that don't know that just don't really know what it's all about. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, sir.
Well, indeed, this is a remarkable, as I said, a remarkable body of work here, but even more remarkable because it emerged from a time of great stress and great strain on your department and every single individual in it. When things were so emotional and everybody was upset and we were facing difficult times here, and you all approached self-examination and making it better so professionally and so remarkably. So please let your captains and every man in the force know how much they are respected for the high level of professionalism that you constantly exhibit and that you certainly are exhibiting in this body of work and working through all of these recommendations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor.